Myself, Hariva Prasad Damatla, a retired Deputy General Manager from BSNL and ex-Adjunct Professor, ECE Department, PSCMR College of Engineering and Technology, Vijayawada, Andhra Pradesh. As part of our series of discussions on GSM concepts, so today we will see a few concepts. In GSM or in mobile communication, the main problem is the frequency scarcity problem. What is that? We will try to understand. If we use dedicated radio frequency loop for every subscriber, we need larger bandwidth to serve even a limited number of subscribers in a single city. If each subscriber, if you give one RF loop exclusively, so it requires huge bandwidth. This we will try to understand with one example. A single RF loop requires 50 kilohertz bandwidth approximately. Then for 1 lakh users or subscribers or customers, we need 1 lakh into 50 kilohertz, which is equal to 50 lakh kilohertz bandwidth. So in other words, we do require 5000 megahertz bandwidth. Spectrum is a scarce item and so many wireless services have to utilize this limited resource. So we cannot allocate 5000 megahertz bandwidth exclusively for mobile communication because spectrum is a scarce item. There are so many other services on which these wireless systems are working. For example, radio broadcast, TV broadcast, it may be radar communication or it may be defense communication. So to overcome this bandwidth problem, subscribers have to share the RF channels on need basis instead of dedicated RF loops. Instead of having each and every subscriber his own radio loop, so they have to share. Whenever I require, I take one RF loop. Whenever somebody requires, he has to take the RF loop from the pool of radio frequency loops. So on need basis, the customers or the subscribers, they have to use the scarce radio frequency spectrum with RF loops. So this can be achieved by using multiple access technologies like FDMA, TDMA or CDMA. Even this may not be able to address our problem. So why we will see. Even then, the number of RF channels required to serve the subscribers works out to be impracticable and insufficient. Even by adopting this FDMA, TDMA or CDMA technique, it will not resolve the problem of frequency scarcity issue. Then how it can be resolved? By adopting to cellular approach. What is that? We will see. To address the frequency scarcity problem, cellular approach is adopted. With limited frequency resources, cellular principle can serve thousands of subscribers at an affordable cost. So in cellular concept, we don't require so many RF loops. So the service becomes now affordable. How it is resolved? Then look into it. In a cellular network, total area is subdivided into smaller areas called cells. The geographical area is subdivided into small areas. They are called cells. Each cell can cover a limited number of mobile subscribers within its boundaries, within its geographical area of the cell. Each cell can have a base station with a few number of RF channels. So each cell is equipped with one base station for mobile communication, and each base station is allotted with a few number of RF carriers or channels. Frequencies used in a given cell area will be simultaneously reused at a different cell which is geographically separated or far away. So here we use the technique what is known as frequency reuse. The same frequencies whatever used in one cell site or one base station can be used at a geographically far away place without interference. So this frequency reuse will address our frequency scarcity problem apart from using the FDMA, TDMA and CDMA techniques. For example, a typical 7-cell pattern can be considered. So to understand this concept, we will take a 7-cell pattern and we will try to understand. This 7-cell pattern is extensively used in mobile networks by most of the telecom service providers. This is the best and ideal model. Here you can see there are 7 cells in cluster 1. 7 cells. Okay. Each cell will have its own set of frequencies. The set of frequencies can be 3, 6, 9, 12 like that. So the same cluster or the same set of frequencies are repeated here in this cluster 2. Here also you see same 7 cells. Then this is cluster 2. In cluster 3 also same pattern is adopted. Now let us look into the salient features. Total available frequency resources are divided into 7 sets. Each set consisting of a number of radio channels and allocated to a cell site. So the available frequencies, the total available frequencies for a telecom service provider, they are divided into 7 sets. So since it's a cluster size of 7, all the available frequencies will be exhausted within these 7 cells. In a group of 7 cells, available frequency spectrum is consumed totally. The same 7 sets of the frequencies can be reused after certain distance, like this. The group of cells where the available frequency spectrum is totally consumed is called a cluster of cells. It is called simply a cluster. The adjacent figure indicates a cluster size K. Generally, cluster size is denoted by K or sometimes by N. So here K is equal to N. Now you see some other examples of cluster size. Here the cluster size is 3. So 1, 2, 3. Afterwards, once again 1, 2, 3 is repeated. Once again 1, 2, 3 is repeated. This is K equal to 3. So this is how it looks when it is K is equal to 3. So let us take another example of K is equal to 4. So here one set, second set, third set, fourth set. So this forms a cluster. K is equal to 4. Next you take another cluster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like these clusters are formed adjacent to each other. This is our the K is equal to 7, what we have seen earlier. See, this is the one cluster. This is another cluster. This is another cluster. This is another cluster. Another cluster. Another cluster. Another cluster. So everywhere 7 cells are there. So this is K is equal to 7. Then we will try to understand some more details about this channel reuse. Here we will try to understand reuse distance and co-channels. What is reuse distance and what is co-channel? You see, this is 7 cells cluster starting, okay, from the center, or from here, let us say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. The same is once again repeated, okay, 1, 2, 3, okay, here it is not shown, okay, like this. This is another cluster, okay, this is another cluster this side. Now if you see in this cluster, let us assume this is the first cell site or base station in this 7 cluster units. So say in the second cluster, here the same color you see, the dark brown or whatever it is used here. That means the frequency set F1, whatever we have used here, will be reused here. So the distance from the center point of this hexagon to center point of this hexagon is known as reuse distance. This is called reuse distance. D, it is indicated by D. The distance from the two cells using the same frequency carriers, they are known as, the distance is known as reuse distance. And here what is co-channel also we will try to understand. Here see this gray color, this is also gray color. That means the frequencies used in this cell site or base station and the frequencies used in this cell site or base station are the same. So the same set of frequency, whatever we are using here, are also used here. So the frequency used here in this site and in this site are called co-channels. Okay, suppose here if you are using frequencies say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for example, same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are used. So they are called co-channels. Okay. Frequency reuse we will try to understand further with one example. Here I have taken the cluster size is equal to 7. So a telecom service provider operator is having 42 carriers. So let us distribute equally for all the 7 sites. Cluster size 7 means there are 7 base stations in one cluster. So for each base station we will get 6 carriers, 42 by 7, assuming that each station is equipped with equal number of carriers for easy understanding. Now the frequency distribution can be considered like this. Base station 1, so it will use frequency set A. Let us designate with capital A. So let us, we are having each base station 6 carriers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then second base station, it will have set B, capital B. So it may start from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and so on. If you come to the 7th base station, because it is cluster size equal to 7, there are 7 base stations. So here the frequency set G. So the frequencies may be 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. This is how the frequencies can be reused in different cells. All the available 42 carriers I have exhausted in this cluster of 7 cells. Now we will try to compute the GSM system capacity by using the frequency reuse technique. A telecom operator got 8.4 megahertz frequency spectrum for Vijayawada city. Since I am at Vijayawada, I have taken Vijayawada city as an example. The operator divided the city into 30 clusters with a reuse factor of 7. So the entire Vijayawada city is divided into 30 clusters. In each cluster, how many base stations are there? 7 base stations are there. The frequency starts from 890.2 megahertz in 900 megahertz. I have taken the example of 900 megahertz, which is extensively used as far as Indian scenario is concerned. Assume each base station is provided with equal number of carriers, then compute the GSM system capacity. Number of carriers. So total bandwidth is 8.4 megahertz and each carrier bandwidth is 0.2. Therefore, I have 8.4 divided by 0.2 megahertz or 200 kilohertz. I will get 42 carriers. So for me, 42 carriers are available. Okay, frequency range, it starts from 890.2, 890.4, 890.6 and so on up to 898.6. These are the 42 carriers available for me. The frequency range is 890.2 to 898.6 in uplink. Corresponding downlink frequencies also we can calculate. For this example, we have ignored that. Number of base stations. How many base stations I have? Because there are 30 clusters and each cluster is having a reuse factor of 7. So 30 into 7, 200 base transceiver stations are there for me in Vijayawada city. Okay. Then number of carriers for base station 42 by 7, that is 6 carriers. Now what is the system capacity? Number of base stations available are 210 and each base station is having 6 carriers and each carrier can be divided into 8 time slots, what we have already discussed as far as GSM is concerned. Therefore, the total system capacity is 210 into 6 into 8, which comes to 10,080. Okay, 10,080. Therefore, at any given time, 10,080 users can speak simultaneously, and this is considered as the GSM system capacity of an operator in this Vijayawada city. Okay, so you have to multiply with the number of multiply the number of base stations with the number of carriers and with 8 time slots. You will get this 10,080 simultaneous calls that are possible at any given instant. Then what are the advantages of this type of cellular approach? Efficient use of available limited RF resource. We have limited radio frequencies. We don't have umpteen number of radio frequencies. So this facilitates efficient use of radio scarce resource. Manufacturing of every piece of subscribers terminal within a region with the same set of channels so that any mobile can be used anywhere in the region. Suppose in India, you consider as a region, we are using 900 megahertz band. The band starts in uplink 890 to 950 and in the downlink 935 to 960. Suppose if you manufacture a terminal, mobile handset, so which can take care of this band, 900 megahertz band as given here. So the same mobile handset can be used anywhere in India. That is one added advantage. Then here generally we are going for smaller type of cells, small cells. So a cellular system uses many base stations with relatively small coverage radius in the order of 100 meter to 10 kilometer depending upon the density of the users and geographical condition. So the radius of in the small cell structure to cover more people, the order of the radius of the base station may be as less as 100 meters and it can be say up to 10 kilometer. So depending upon the user's density as well as the geographical condition. Rural, we don't require more number of base stations. That means the radius of the base station can be more where the users are less when compared to urban localities. This small cell approach enables the use of small battery powered handsets than the large mobile units used in early mobile systems. Why small battery? Because the radius it has to cover, the distance it has to cover is less. Since the distance it has to cover is less, the power it can radiate can be less. So the battery required, therefore the battery requirement to power up this mobile handset is less. This is another advantage. Then now let us discuss what is the shape of the cell theoretically. For analytical purposes, a hexagon cell is preferred to other shapes on paper due to the following reasons. We prefer hexagonal shape as the cell shape. A hexagon layout requires fewer cells to cover a given area. Hence, it envisages few base stations and minimum capital investment. So, if you adopt hexagonal shape for design and implementing, so a geographic area requires less number of cells when compared to other shapes what we further discuss in this lecture. Since the number of cells required for a city or the region are minimized, so therefore the investment, the expenditure towards the cost of the equipment and installation is minimized. Other geographical shapes cannot effectively achieve this. Why? For example, if circular shaped cells are there, then there will be overlapping of cells or coverage gaps. If you consider the cell shape as circular, to cover the entire geographic area, either you have to overlap the cells or there should be some gaps. So this we can see in the next slide with example. Also for a given area among square, triangle and hexagon, the area covered by an hexagon will be the maximum which is needed for weaker mobiles. So the area covered by square, triangle and hexagon, if you compare, the area covered by hexagon is more when compared to square and triangle. In reality, cells are not hexagonal but irregular in shape, determined by the factors like propagation of radio waves over the terrain, obstacles and other geographical constraints. Though theoretically for mathematical computations, we assume it is an hexagonal due to practical difficulties in the terrain in a geographical area like hillocks or very big buildings, obstacles. So it may be a slightly distorted hexagonal in practical scenario. Complex computer programs are required to divide an area into cells and is achieved by radio planning tools. We have computerized radio planning tools wherein we feed the latlams in it and we will see the area covered by each and every base station. Accordingly, we may modify the position of the base station to the extent it is possible. Now you see, let us assume the cell shape is circular. So here, as you can see, there are certain gaps where there is no cellular coverage. Otherwise, you have to overlap. Once you are overlapping, the number of cells required for a unit area or a region becomes more, so which is not economical. Further discussion on circular cell shape. Let us assume the shape of these cells is symmetrical and circular. The scenario would be as shown in the figure. We can observe the area marked in red are not covered. These are the areas which are not covered. This BTS, this BTS, this BTS, and this BTS put together, they cannot cover this area, and this area like this. Therefore, circular shape is not ideal for planning mobile coverage. Why hexagonal shape is preferred? Okay, circle is ruled out. Then we have square, equilateral, triangle. Normally we consider symmetrical shapes only. And hexagonal is okay. Let us see this argument. Consider the other two symmetrical shapes like square and equilateral triangle. Square, equilateral, triangle. In this case, there is no issue of coverage gaps. Here, if you place square adjacent to square, square adjacent to square, and so on, there is no coverage issue. Similarly, in case of equilateral triangle also. But more number of cells are required in a geographical area because the area covered by hexagonal is more when compared to square, and square it is more when compared to equilateral triangle. So when compared to equilateral triangle and square, the area covered by hexagon is more. Therefore, hexagonal shape is more preferred one. Therefore, hexagon is the preferred shape for considering and planning the mobile coverage. Here some more information they have given for comparison purpose. Let us look into it. Equilateral triangle shape can cover 17.77% area of circle. With reference to circle, the equilateral triangle can cover only 17.77% only. Square shape can cover 63.7 of the circle. With reference to circle, it can cover 63.7. Hexagon shape can cover 83% of the area of the circle. Even hexagon cannot cover 100% what circle can cover, but circle leads to either overlapping or gaps. So that's why we have ruled out the circle. So among all the three, this hexagon gives better coverage. Okay, with reference to circle. A regular hexagon covers maximum area as the distance between the center and the farthest point is more. Therefore, hexagon is the ideal shape for a cell. This is the only logical shape, and in practice, a cell exhibits irregular geometry. Though hexagonal is the logical shape for considering and planning mobile network, so in practice, it exhibits a little bit irregular geometry. Then we will look into the summary what we have discussed in this session. One, we have seen the inconvenience of frequency scarcity problem as far as mobile communication is concerned. Then how we have addressed this problem is by means of frequency reuse concept. Then we have also estimated the GSM system capacity with one example, and we have also seen the advantages of the cellular approach, and we had a sufficient discussion about the shape of the cells, whether it should be equilateral triangle, square, circle, or hexagon. So finally, we came to a conclusion that hexagon is the more preferred shape for the shape of the cell for planning and implementing the radio network or mobile network. So we have seen in terms of percentage of the area covered also. So why hexagon shape is preferred. This much we have discussed in this session. So with this, I thank you everybody.